Hey team, today we are starting a new concept. We will be interviewing several Databricks MVPs because if you don't know, the program has been rebranded. It used to be called Beacons. Now they have, we can say, a real name, Databricks MVPs, and I have the absolute pleasure to have Julia with me as a first guest. Hi Julia.
Hello. And thank you for having me. It's really cool to be here. I've been following the channel for a while, so it's gonna be fun.
Amazing, and I used to know you as well, even before it was announced. You have been announced as Databricks MVP. And can you tell us more about you, about your background?
Yeah, sure. I've been working in the data space, fresh out of university 5.5 years ago. And I've been working mainly in the data warehousing world. So my first years, I worked mostly on premise within the Microsoft stack. So I did a lot of data warehousing, uses like SQL Server, integration services, analysis services for models, and some Power BI on top, though that's not my strongest suit or interest, but I have done that as well. And then as the clients started moving more to the cloud, especially the last years, I moved along with them. They have some experience like Azure Data Factory and those types of solution. But then I basically thought that my current customer at the time would benefit from this platform called Databricks. So I suggested that. We looked into it, went to a world tour event with Databricks, and we figured out that this was the right place for them to be. So yeah, that's my background.
So, you have been using Databricks for the last 3 years, right?
Yeah, I know, not that long even, like closer to 2 then. Yeah, it's been a very intense journey, let's say that. And I'm mostly like focused on the Lakehouse concept and doing migration, which is quite natural as I come from like the on-premises stack, and there are a lot of migrations going on. So that's kind of my focus area.
Yeah, and knowing your background, I think you started at the best time ever because as you can see, like Databricks SQL, our data warehousing offering, started getting bigger and bigger
Yep.
with a lot of improvement, a lot of features, and it's mainly started, let's say, I mean, that was 3 years ago, but we've seen it like a huge adoption 2 years ago, and I think so. You are part of this trend that started and benefit from those cool stuff like Photon and all the other exciting features
Yeah.
that were introduced with DB SQL. But before, I'm curious to know, like, uh, how when did Databricks reach out to you to announce that you have been
Yeah,
nominated as
this
an
one.
MVP?
This is always the interesting questions that I've had especially the last months, like all these people asking, of course, like, how did you do it? How did it happen? How did you like go through all the steps? And to be honest, I never imagined actually that I would be a part of this type of program. I've just seen the people being part of the program and think, okay, these guys, they are like next level. So to be honest, I haven't actually focused on it at all. And what I have done is that I've spent a lot of time going around in events, in Databricks meetups. I've also this year really started like my speaking journey. So I do more like presentations in communities talking about Databricks, and that has kind of widened my network of fellow data nerds, which is my favorite type of people. So I've done a lot of speaking, recently started being more active on LinkedIn. And then, to be honest, the main reason is that I've been working quite closely with Databricks in the Nordics. So I've been working with some amazing guys like account executives and some solutions architects, which are covering like the Norwegian market. So in the Nordics, they have Databricks office in Sweden, which also covers Norway, where I'm based. And that company, basically, I've been working quite closely with them on customers and like talking a lot about the tech with these people. And it was probably through that combination of starting my speaking journey, being very active in the community in Oslo, and also then actually working with them on customers and kind of evolving customers and helping them on the journey. So I haven't really been focused on getting into a program. I've been just doing my stuff, and then it happened. So that's kind of probably not the answer people were imagining, but that's what happened.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Just do what you want to do. Like, keep reading, keep learning, keep posting,
exactly.
And then it will come to you naturally. And since you mentioned that you started your like communication or public speaking journey, I guess we will see you probably applying for a talk at DICE.
Oh no, that pressure. Oh, we'll see. I'm not gonna comment on that. It was just opened, I have heard, so we'll see what happens. But at least I enjoy speaking at other events, and then we'll see if that will turn into some summit.
You should do it. You should do it. It's an amazing experience. I had the chance to be to present with the fellow friend Matthew Powers, one of the committers I have on Spark. We had a session on Delta Lake, and we had like a full room. Like, session was like not getting started, but best Delta Lake features. And trust me, we had full room, like 180 people. Others were like literally sitting on the floor, and they stayed for like 1 hour, and then we continued the discussion outside because they kicked out from the room because they had another talk. And like the energy, the vibes, it's just amazing. So if you have this opportunity, just go.
Yeah, I actually went there last year but just as an attendee, so I was really lucky to be able to go. And I think that event and the summit, that was kind of what brought my motivation for Databricks. Like, even I've really like amped up on like reading and staying up to date, because well, we both know that's probably a full-time job, just trying to keep on top of what's being released. And the summit and the amount of stuff that was announced was just like, it blew my mind. It was really cool. And I expected it to slow down a bit after the summit, but then it really didn't.
No. Actually, it's always... So just, like, I tend to go almost every year just to keep up this energy, because whenever I go, I am full of energy, even if I'm jet lagged, like lack of sleep, waking up very early, sleeping very late, but still the energy is there, meeting people, exchanging, the keeping up with the product. And trust me, Julia, like I went on a PTO for 2 weeks. When I went back, I opened the platform, a lot of things changed, like how to create clusters and stuff. I was like, so are they telling us maybe, like, should I stop taking PTOs? Because whenever I leave site for like 2 weeks, a lot of things change. And this is really the power of Databricks. You are never bored. If you want to learn things, you will keep learning like for ages. And I think this is a perfect intro to tell us, since you're on a data warehousing world, for data analysts, like there are new joiners, people that are just getting started with Databricks. What would you advise them, like the resources to track, or what to do to maybe increase their knowledge and not be afraid from using the platform?
Yeah. So I think one of what you just mentioned is some of like the really amazing stuff about Databricks, but it's also the thing, like the flexibility of it and how fast it kind of evolves. Almost is also the biggest challenge when working with Databricks, because you have all these possibilities and you can basically do anything you want in there. So I think one of the main reasons is just really set some goals on what you want to achieve and what you want to focus on at any given time. Because if you just basically unleash all your developers and tell them to go nuts, then they probably can. So it's kind of, and I think this comes from like my data warehousing background, where it's very much about kind of structure, having some common framework and some common ways of working to make sure that you kind of keep control of your solution and that the data within your solution is like of a certain quality. So I think really taking the time to decide on what you want to achieve and in what order you want to achieve it is a good thing. And also maybe if you have the opportunity to spend some time to actually develop some frameworks or some naming convention, like anything that can like provide your team with a bit of predictability is also nice, especially if you're in the data warehousing world. I think that one of the greatest strength of a team is if your solution is a bit developer independent. You don't want to end up with a solution where it looks completely different based on who has written the code, for example, right? Because if that would be your single point of failure, if something happens to that person, if that person quits, or if that person gets sick, then it's hard kind of for other people to take over. So I think kind of having this, a lot of people that meet me, they expect me to be like this very like, do what you want and not that strict type of person. But then I come from like these data warehousing principles, which I also think we have to find like the middle ground between going nuts and being too strict. So I think kind of finding some common ground is probably one of, and have a plan would probably be one of my best advice.
That makes sense. That makes sense, because else you can get lost, and you don't want to have also this lock-in. And I also seen, like you mentioned first during the beginning of the discussion, you are handling migrations, and I've seen that some customers sometimes can be afraid from migrations because it's a change of like you're changing the system, which means you're changing a way of doing things, and sometimes they tend to some people or some companies, they tend to reproduce what they had in the old system rather than benefiting from the openness or the scalability or the liberty to do anything they want. No, they tend to reproduce what they have. So how do you tackle those challenges? How do you convince them that this is the best way to do things? What's your strategy?
So first of all, of course, like having this initial project that we have kind of seen like this use case that it works is of course like the biggest advantage. But I think it's also like I think a lot of people are saying things like, the data warehousing is dead, the data warehousing is ancient. And I think that's a misconception, right? Because I don't think it's true. I think the data warehousing isn't dead. We have the Lakehouse, but it's not, doesn't mean that the data warehouse as a concept is dead. It's just a new form. I try to see the Lakehouse as like the newer and expanded version of the data warehousing. Because in theory, the problem you still need to solve the exact same problems as you did in the warehouse, right? You have a bunch of data. They're coming from a bunch of sources, and you want to apply a lot of business logic, cleaning, structure, and then end up in some reports or some machine learning models. And that still applies. It's just that you can do that with structured data, and you can also do those types of things with unstructured data. You can have machine learning models in the same platform. So it's more like a Lakehouse plus version of the warehouse. So I think also a lot of people get scared because these types of things are thrown around and like these opinions. So I think that's part of it. So I think actually what Databricks does and actually say, they are actually using the words warehousing, right? They're saying Databricks warehouse. And I think that's a very good thing, because that's where people are coming from. I think a lot of people that are they're used to on-premise. They've been there for 20 years. They've been there for 30 years. They know a lot of good stuff about data modeling, about structuring the data, but then they get this feeling that the Lakehouse is something completely different. And yeah, it is different. You're working with file. You have new file. You're working more with files. You have new formats. You can also include new language. So I think a lot of people kind of get scared by the fact that they think it's something. It's more different than they. It's not that different that they think. Yes, you have to have some. You can add some new cool use cases, and you can still continue using, in many cases, the same language. So I think the key is convincing these experts that have been building the solutions for decades, and kind of understanding that getting them on board and making them feel comfortable in the new platform is kind of essential to building good solutions. So I think you need people with the cloud experience, and you need people with like the old warehouse and on-premises mindset. So I think kind of making sure that both these two teams feel comfortable is probably one of the most important things to be able to convince a business to do the migration.
That makes sense, and I also think that it's also blocking them sometimes, like also when they move from those on-premise data warehouses where they have this lock-in because the data is in specific format, and then when they go to for example Databricks, they need to choose like between the storage format, whether it's gonna go for Apache Hudi, Iceberg, or Delta Lake. Then again, why, how, and then other questions start emerging. So it makes sense. But I think you also posted lately something about uniform, where you did explain like the advantage of using uniform. So can you tell us more about your experience with uniform?
So basically, I just think it's very cool as a concept. I think when Databricks acquisitioned Tabler, a lot of people the days before in the summit were also like, what does this mean? Some people are skeptical. They were like, does this mean that Databricks is actually going to do a vendor lock-in now, right? Because I can understand that some people might have gotten those ideas because they felt like they bought the format, even though it's open source. They, of course, bought all the people that created that. So I think a lot of people kind of was afraid of that. And then when Databricks went on stage on the keynote and they just open sourced Unity catalog, it was like a very clear saying to say like, well, we're not going to vendor lock in anything. We're just going to make it even easier for you. So I think that the idea Databricks now has by making Iceberg and Delta so similar that you actually don't have to choose, that's a game changer. And by doing that, they actually say, they don't say, well, you have to use Databricks. What they're saying is, we just want you to have more freedom, so that choice isn't forcing you in any direction. So I think that concept is really cool, that they're really following this open sourcing mindset.
Yeah, so. And especially that with Delta you can go, you can go to Hudi and also Apache Iceberg. So and they're adding more and more integration, and hopefully you will no longer need
Connect is coming. That one is I'm quite excited about as well.
Yeah. So Lakeflow Connect, that would be also something, a game changer, because like for you, I'm not saying you don't know Python, but for you as a data analyst, data warehousing expert, you can just go, click, select any system. I don't know, can be a SQL Server. You have the CDC enabled by default, and you can just ingest data easily from there.
Yeah, I'm working a lot with like Dynamics 365 in Microsoft. It's a bit of a pain files to work with, so they have said that they're getting a plug into that one, so that's probably what I'm most excited about.
Yes,
So
yes,
I'm from
Dynamics sit.
Microsoft, the Microsoft biggest Microsoft country probably. Like in Norway, it's they have close to 100% of the market basically. So there's a lot of Microsoft
Yeah,
stuff going on
CRMs
in my
stack.
daily work. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much good. And tell us more about like the advantage of the Databricks MVPs community. Like, tell us more about the benefits and
Yeah,
what you
sure.
have been learning so far since you joined the program.
Yeah. So first of all, I probably get to go to this the summit the second year in a row, so that's super exciting. So I'm looking forward already. They have dropped the dates now, so I should just like order my
Book them,
tickets so
book
my
them now.
company doesn't change their minds. And then the other thing is that like we have monthly webinars where like the product teams, like rel teams from Databricks actually come in and demo us new stuff for things that they have on the roadmap where we can ask them questions. We have like this Slack channel with quite a lot of activity, and there's a lot of Databricks employees in that. So basically, if I had this question about system tables, and I had some like things about that which I was wondering about and like were thinking about, and then I just said in the Slack channel like, "Hey guys, is anyone working with this in Databricks?" And then guy got tagged, Greg Kowalski, and
Yeah,
I just
money
messaged
team.
him. Yeah, basically, and then he messaged me and he was like, "Okay, let's set up a meeting so I can understand the use case." And I think that's probably one of the coolest things, like getting so close to the people actually behind the technologies and being able to kind of understand, but also give feedback in what's not working that well, what is working well. And of course, it's nice to know bit things before everyone else is always nice
Yeah,
to be prepared.
getting a sneak peek, like when you watch your favorite
Yeah.
series and then you watch like the sneak peek from the next episode, and you always want
Yeah.
more.
But then,
And
then of course, it might be annoying as well, right? Because you just want to start right away. And then, but
yeah,
yeah, I think in general, also Databricks is a company that is quite out there with the customers, even though you're not an MVP or anything. Like before that as well, I felt like every time we had a problem, it was very easy to get hold of Databricks. So as a company, I also think that they're quite in front there. But of course, it's a bit easier, even easier now. So. And then I get some swag, which is always nice, right?
yeah,
So
I
yeah.
had this one as well.
Yeah, exactly. So
Uh,
yeah.
and one more thing before we close, can you tell us more about your the favorite, let's say, use case or project you did work on maybe for the last couple 2 years?
Oh yeah. I've done a migration to the Databricks platform. I'm not gonna say from what, but basically I did a migration to the platform. We had a massive reduction in costs per load, so we are now actually able to run the whole data warehouse. Like we run it every hour on the hour, so it's 24 runs a day of the data, so the users get hourly updated data, which is really nice. We've seen like the adoption of Power BI also kind of skyrocketing because now the business is more able to provide this fresher data. So I think that's a really cool project. And of course, just having Unity catalog actually enabled in a platform is magic. Yeah, that one is. Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
understand if you can do anything without Unity catalog now, to be honest, because it has so much good stuff.
yeah, I was wondering or asking myself the same question. And you literally need Unity catalog because else you just have your data. And when
Yeah.
you see like the amount of things that Unity is bringing, like lineage, system tables, the
Yeah, and
governance, the
yeah,
discoverability, You have some insights, like you can click on any table, you can see how many people queried this table, who did the most most frequent users, with which table this one has been joined. You can define primary key, foreign key for tables. You can have this automatic comments, like a lot of things. Like I can keep talking for
I'm
hours.
really excited about this, which they announced on the summit, the attributes-based access controls. That's also a game changer when it comes to the stuff people really don't want to do in data engineering project, is like masking sensitive information, and then you probably did it wrong and it's way too manual. So that one is also really cool.
Oh yes, and especially that they gonna merge it with Lakehouse monitoring to have this automatic classification, which means this column is PII, so it's automatically tagged PII, and then based on this you can put your rule like only leaders can view this PII, except for example Julia. And also the things that I think find many very interesting is the time-based access. Like you can grant you the permission for like 20 days, and after this the permission is revoked, because now, and it avoid having these issues when you grant someone permission then you forgot to remove the permission.
Because let's be honest, that happens. Like if yours, it's easy to forget actually. Like if it's a big project, or if you have a million things to do, this revoke of access, it can be forgotten, and it will be in many cases. So I think that's also really cool, especially like if you have people that are just in there to do one specific task or need something for one report. Yeah, so I think it's good.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that's pretty much all. I think you have covered a lot of things. You have shared several insights, and we're gonna put your LinkedIn on the comment or the description of the recording. So make sure to follow Julia for more information about Databricks, and why not watching her session at DICE next year. Thank you, Julia.
Thank you.